Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cast Co-op. It's here where usually three podcast hosts cast together. I am your host, Joseph, aka Mr. Badbit, the host of the Trophy Room. And alongside me on this Cast Co-op adventure is our bald brother, Ainsley Bowden from Season Gaming. How are you, sir?
I am good, man. You're one to talk. You're right there with me, my friend.
Me?
Yeah.
How so? What do you mean?
No, you're fully shaved. You're basically there. Come on.
I mean,
you could grow it if you want to, but
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I want to say I appreciate you scooting your chair low for me to equal out our height. I like that. I appreciate that greatly.
Yeah, I got you.
Listen, man, it's been a long time coming. We've been wanting to do this for a while, for months at this point. Life's been busy. Life gets in the way. This week, Luke wanted to be on, but he is tired. This is his first week back. He has kids in the school. So it's full time being a teacher. Who would have thunk? It's actually a ton of work after he had 4 months vacation. Nonetheless, we wish Luke well, but we want to talk about some things. There's a lot to talk about. We could go in several different directions. We could talk about Star Wars Outlaws. We could talk about the Wukong controversy yet again coming out about this game of who may or may not be supporting it. We could talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro leaks. Where do you want to go first, dude? And then even Xbox is doing more multi-plat stuff. So I want to know what direction you want to take the
Let's start with PS5 Pro.
Okay.
I think the Wukong controversy is a waste of time. Play the game or don't, wherever it's available. Don't care about the rest. But yeah, let's talk about PS5 Pro, because I think what's interesting about the Pro here is that COVID really did a number on this generation in a number of ways, right? And I think that when the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X came out, they were a big leap forward from a generation that began underpowered for the most part. PS4 a little less so, but and so that was kind of a huge shift. It was right when Xbox kind of went for that power crown with the One X and said, we're turning that around from a power perspective, because they had gotten embarrassed at the launch of the Xbox One generation. But now we're here in 2021 or 2020, 4 years in with our Series X's and PS5s. And, from everything we know, Xbox is not doing a mid-gen refresh. The kind of word on the street at the moment, which of course evolves every week, is that we'll see new Xbox hardware, true new hardware, in 2026. And so we kind of sit in this place where PC hardware has advanced pretty rapidly. Like myself, I have a new PC, and the gap between the Unreal 5 games in particular, these new games that are very labor intensive or, CPU and GPU intensive, we're kind of seeing the stretching limits of that already with the Series X, right, and the PS5, where there's already concessions being made constantly between frame rate and visual quality. And so now, if everything holds true that we know, PS5 Pro is getting announced here in the next week or two. It'll come out probably late this year, if not very early next. I'm kind of wondering what kind of impact it's going to have, if any major impact. I think if you come out in 2024 with a $600 digital only, which, I don't think most people care about. I do, because I'm one of those old weirdos. But $600 digital only Pro, what am I getting for that money? We've seen the spec leaks, we've seen the stuff, but is there going to be a material difference, especially on the frame rate side, I would say, for the games that we know today, and for cross-platform AAA games for the next 2 years that'll make a bigger gap between a Series X performance and a PS5 Pro that can stand up at least somewhat to a newer PC? I think that's what I'm most curious about.
Yeah, I think a lot of your curiosity is same with me. It's like where I feel like we're still at this point. At one point, it's like it feels like we still just got these consoles and we're still testing out their limitations, right? And that's because this generation is weird. It's ushering the first time where cross generation is truly a very prominent thing, and it's a lot of it has to do with COVID. You're seeing, these consoles 4 years in, not getting price, reductions, but getting price increases. It feels like to me that this generation could be like the PS3 360, where like this generation lasts, I think, longer than you know. Oh, do I have a bit of static, Ains?
Yeah, I was just gonna. I didn't want to interrupt you, but chat, let me know. I'm getting a little bit of static from you on my end, but I don't know if it's just me. So, chat, if you can let us know if you're hearing any crackle from Joe occasionally. But go on.
Yeah, I could unplug the mic, plug it back in. But yeah, no, like for me, it's that aspect of like, what is the true difference I'm getting out of these consoles? If the feeling is this could last quite a long time, right? These consoles could last quite a long time. So it's like on one side of the spectrum, it feels like we just got them. At the other side, though, it's like you're right. We're choosing between fidelity and performance. We're choosing between 30 and 60 FPS, and I do want something that is a bit more uncompromising in terms of what it's able to do in both fidelity and performance. Because I feel like in the beginning of this generation, we got sold this idea of like, this console is so powerful, guys.
Yeah,
it's gonna make your head spin, right? And it's like, no, games look better, lighting's improved, all that stuff. But yeah, like it still doesn't feel like the big leap. So I have questions about this console of like, sure, I want true 4K and true 60 FPS, but am I even just gonna get it out of this console? Or like, what purpose does it serve if it doesn't do those things?
Yeah, that's the best question, best way to phrase it. And good evening, chat. Thanks for coming in, hanging out with us in our random 5-week or 7-week, 9-week appearance. Yeah, they said you may want to, while I'm talking, Joe, you may want to unplug and plug again just to see if it helps. But I think that's the right question, is what am I getting for my money? And I'm one of those idiots, just because we talk about this all the time. I love hardware, I love consoles. I'll be buying one of these things anyway, just to check it out and to have it. But for the normal person who's just sitting out there either with a PS5 today, or they prefer Xbox and play on Series X, and it's like, okay, $600, and you're going to do what for me? Because quite frankly, right, the PS4 Pro, it had some nice graphical boosts, especially in games like Horizon at the time and God of War 2018, etc. But it didn't do a lot. You know what I mean? Really, for the money at the time. So you're talking 600 now. What are you going to get for it? Are you just talking about some bells and whistles, or are we actually going to see effort put into giving us an additional mode, which functions more as like what we would maybe call a balance mode today, where you're going to get maybe 60 FPS with some bells and whistles or better graphical quality? And I think the most important thing we always have to remember is, even if PlayStation does that, our third party's going to do that, because all of that takes extra effort for third parties to do. And we've seen before where, 95% of the time spent on games is generally third party on these consoles anyway. And so are they going to make updates just for one console, especially if it's only one? Because what we used to see is on the 1X and PS4 Pro, it would run as blah. Whereas now, if you're saying a developer's got to spend extra time for a single SKU that maybe only has a couple million units sold, are they really going to do that? Probably not.
And that's my one question. How am I coming in right now? Am I coming in better?
It sounds clear for the moment. Keep talking.
Okay, cool. I just switched the settings around.
You're much more clear.
All right, beautiful.
Okay.
That was the one problem that I was echoing on the trophy room, and I was hoping that on this show you'd clear up, which is like, my problem is, if this console is $700, which we see a few people going like, there's no way this console ain't $700. It's like, who's really going to adopt this console? Mm-hmm. And who are the developers besides first party that are actually going to, if there's just, a handful of million of players out there that have this console, how many devs are actually going to take the time to code for it efficiently without PlayStation incentivizing them to do so?
Yeah. And to that same point too, and we talk about it a lot on the show when we have this show, right now, we don't have much of a Sony roadmap as to what they're going to be delivering anyway over the next 18 months. We're supposed to get this state of play here soon, where we're supposed to hear about this console and probably promotion of Astrobot, because we're, all the good people of us are pumped for that one.
That's right.
But we don't know what else they have coming unless they really drop the door, blow the doors off here in a couple weeks and show us things that we've been waiting to see from PlayStation first party. But I think we may get one or two things. But again, is that going to be enough to really make that mark? So I don't know. Like Nissa says in the chat, she'd rather buy a ROG Ally X, which, we know portable gaming is kind of on the rise, Steam Decks and ROGs and these other, devices that people are spending money on. So $700, $600 or $700, I think is a big ask for a console that you're probably not going to get a whole lot of benefit from.
Yeah. And, for me, the other thing is like, how does PlayStation prove to you that this console is worth the upgrade other than saying, take our word for it? It's like, it's going to be really hard on a streaming at sub 4K to show the masses of like, oh, this is the true 4K. This is the PSSR technology that we have that's going to, super sample things to machine learn 4K off of like old PS4 games. Like all that tech sounds cool, but how do you show it off? And how do you show people that there's like, oh no, there's an incentive here, right?
Yeah.
Of like picking this very expensive console. Cause I'm very much nervous that this is going to be a PSVR 2, which is it's $550, $600, and people are just gonna go, in this economy? Yeah, no thanks. And just kind of walk away from it. That's the thing that makes me nervous about the PS5 Pro. I do have some specs here for you, the rumored specs. Would you like to hear them?
Yeah, put them up. Some people haven't seen them.
Yeah, if you're a big spec head, one of the things is the GPU power is anywhere between 33.5 to 36.1 teraflops. Remember, the teraflops are coming back.
They're making a comeback.
Let's go. Memory is 16 gigabytes. And then the clock speed is 3.85 gigahertz. And I believe this is like a 35% faster processor. It's AMD Zen 2, which we've heard so much about at the beginning of this console generation, and storage is rumored to be 2 terabytes. Any of that strike your fancy? Because all of that is just pure gibberish to me. I want to know what you take of any of
the clock speed's the most thing. I guess the thing most notable is I'm tired, dude. It's been a long day. Most notable thing that I'm focused on, but I'm more wondering about like kind of the compute units. What type of processor change is this? I think that's what we need to know definitively. Because that's where the GPU, the GPU increase is going to be nice for sure on the PS5 side. That's where Xbox had a pretty distinct advantage coming out of the gate. But I'm curious to see, along with the GPU, where the CPU increase is. And again, that's going to really not only give us an inkling as to what it may do for games, potentially depending on developers, of course, but if it's going to be worth the money for a normal consumer.
And all of these things are just numbers and letters until we actually get the thing in our hands. And if the developers actually utilize this tech, I come out with the PlayStation 5 Pro of like, I have more, obviously I have more questions than answers. But I'm a lot more skeptical just out of the rumored price tags of who this console really is for, especially in this current climate. I'm right now don't see the point to it. I don't know if you do at all.
No, I don't. Unless they come out with this state of play and show us something that we're unexpected, some type of functionality addition that we don't know about. You know what I mean? If we're just talking about a spec increase that may be used by a percentage of games, I don't see why it would be worth it. So I don't know. I think I'm curious. Rob joked that 700 would be suicide. He said I'd still buy it, but most wouldn't. I think I'm probably in the same boat. I'm 95% going to buy this anyway, just to have it. But and play around with it. But still, for the market, is it going to be worth it? But I mean, we have these conversations too, and Sony, at least financially, for all the other complaints we have at times with PlayStation, they find a way to make things work financially a lot of times. Yeah. And I have to imagine they wouldn't be releasing this if they didn't have some sort of plan on how they're going to sell it globally. So I say that with the PSVR 2 and, sitting over there. But, yeah, I think I'm one of the few people, maybe less than 10 people who thought, I wonder if the PS5 Pro will do anything for PSVR 2 games. So, yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm curious to see what they show here. Hopefully the rumor, of course, is second week of September, we're going to get a state of play. Yeah.
Probably after Astrobot, we'll get an announcement week after that. Then Tokyo Game Show, one would assume.
Yeah, and Tokyo Game Show will be where they probably have something planned to show the Pro and to kind of show, hopefully, and flex its muscles of some sort. So
here's the next question for you. Next PlayStation related thing. A lot of us in the PlayStation camp, we're very concerned about the roadmap. You brought up, we don't know much of the PlayStation roadmap. Usually, since the 90s, right? Since the birth of E3, we've gotten these showcases once a year that shows what you're going to get in the next year, 2, 3, 4, and outward. Whether it's Sega, whether it's Nintendo, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's PlayStation, they've all done this. And Microsoft still has their big blowout. It was amazing this year.
It was. The fans have forgotten about it already, but it was amazing.
We got to talk about that next. I want to know what your thoughts are on PlayStation. Seemingly, if the rumors are correct, they're ditching a showcase this year, going for a state of play. Mm-hmm. Do you see that as like a worry to you? As like, we still don't have a roadmap? Or do you think, and this is a question I posed Kyle, that they're switching up the formula, that instead of showing, 4 or 5 awesome games, or looking, promising games, for the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to focus on 2 to 3 that are this year, or for lack of a better term, next year, and maybe a little tease for the future, but we're not going to go with the big blowouts. We're going to do more of a Nintendo Direct style thing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I think for a couple of reasons, really. Mm-hmm. One is that it's pretty clear. They haven't said it directly, but I think, just looking at the information and everything we've seen, it's pretty clear that PlayStation had some directional changes probably multiple times over the past few years. The Jim Ryan era, we heard pretty clearly them state in their business review about live service. And, we've covered all that, where they were going. They cancel Last of Us Factions. And so now they seem to be course correcting a little bit. Who knows? And we'll get to it. But who knows what the hell Concord is going to have on that continued conversation, because that, by all accounts, is flopping pretty bad right now. So, I have to imagine internally, my guess would be that they are a little hesitant to show their full hand of what's coming multiple years out, when it feels like they're even trying to figure that out. Now, I do think you still have to get people like, I don't want to say people like you, but, especially the hardcore PlayStation people, as well as your general audience, excited about big IPs. They're still, regardless of anything else, they're still known for these big blockbuster AAA single player releases. So we've obviously talked about Ghost of Tsushima 2. We've talked about whatever's coming next from Sony Santa Monica. I feel you have to kind of tease some of these things at least a little bit, 1 or 2, to your point, to keep people invested in there. And I think, to your other point, we'll see more stuff like Silent Hill 2. That's coming out later this year. It's PlayStation 5 exclusive. We'll see stuff like that kind of highlights their point of being in the PlayStation ecosystem.
Yeah, I think on one point it's really it's a bummer, because I want to see all the things, right? I want to see what Ben's working on. I want to see what Sony Santa Monica's working on. I want to see all of it. At the same exact time, one of the critiques that we were getting for the PS4 generation is like, how many times are you going to show us The Last of Us? How many times are you going to show us Spider-Man? How many times are we going to see Ghost of Tsushima until those games are actually out? Now, benefit is that those games are actually really great and they sold pretty darn well. But there was a lot of fatigue and maybe even PlayStation questioning the importance of putting out a, little, 10-second VFX shot of, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and they just get canceled and going, well, why the hell did we do that?
Yeah.
Right. So I think you're right. One point is that they are in flux. They had a weird direction that seeming like they are abandoning now to go back to what they're good at. And at this point in time, they kind of see that as, all right, we got to right the ship a little bit. So Death Stranding is going to be the thing that's going to help right that ship a little bit. But there has to be something else that we're cooking up in 2025, whether that be Wolverine or Ghost of Tsushima. We do have to show people a roadmap, but I think it's less important of what games are coming out 2026, 2027, more so of what's coming out next year that's going to showcase the power of the PlayStation 5 Pro and then also make fans happy of like, oh, right, this is the direction that I'm really excited about. Because I want to know what you think about like the Xbox showcase a month afterwards, where it's like, yeah, we got all these huge games, but like, when is Fable actually going to come out? Right? How many times is Avowed going to get not canceled? Sorry, pushed back. Right? Like, did that showcase actually move the needle any which point? I don't
Doesn't
know.
seem to have.
Right.
I mean, I don't really know. Obviously, we don't have the metrics, but it felt great being there and part of it, and the enthusiasm around. We see this all the time with Xbox, so it's a completely different thing. Like, the enthusiasm is amazing, and then like, step on rake a week later, and all of a sudden, the sky is falling. Right. I mean, we just saw it with the Indiana Jones announcement. I'm super pumped about that game. Doesn't matter to me one bit that it's going anywhere else. I want to play it. I'm excited for it. But you saw kind of the wind taken out of the sails, and no matter what you think about it, I agree that their messaging is muddy as hell. Like, they can't figure out how to message to their own community around what exactly they're doing, and they are clear as mud about it, meaning they're clear in saying what they mean, and like, we're going to do it on a case-by-case basis. We're going to take certain titles, etc., like that. But that doesn't set expectations, because it's always, if you're doing case-by-case basis, you don't even know until future games release, which is, your fans can't rely on that. So
and that's the thing, dude. It seems like PlayStation. The problem that I see with the big two at this point is like PlayStation, or maybe the big three. PlayStation has no roadmap. Xbox has a very confusing roadmap where arrows are pointing all over the place, and Nintendo won't show you this. they're hiding it. And it's really weird to see. Like, part of me, I'm not gonna lie to you, Ains, part of me loves seeing Xbox slowly go multi-platform. I gotta let my PlayStation fanboy seep out a little bit.
He's sitting on the saddle.
Because here's the thing: as I sit on the saddle, I'm enjoying it. I just love these people that for like 4 years made, Xbox is coming back. You guys are so stupid, idiots out there that have made the console their entire identity. They're Phil Spencer with the bazooka backgrounds, and just seeing their identities evaporate, and they genuinely have no idea what to do. Like, I saw grown men on the verge of tears over the fact that more people get to play Indiana Jones. I saw this one guy. He's like, when they showed the trailer, he's like, that's right. No PlayStation bitches. And then he goes, and we have one more announcement. And he's just like, uh-oh. And it's like, and for PlayStation 5, he's like, oh no. You just see this man crumble over the fact that more people get to play Indiana Jones.
It's what we've talked about so many times here. Like, more people get to play it, which means more revenue for Xbox, which means more investment into their future games. Like, it's a very easy circle of life. You don't get Call of Duty in Game Pass without Indiana Jones on PlayStation. Yeah. They're not a direct correlation, but you know exactly what I mean by that statement. Like, they spent the money, they built their portfolio, they have one of the biggest publishing arms in all of gaming in the world now. They have to make that money back. We've talked about this a million times. So it's not a surprise, but it's more true of the market itself, because, you know, as much as you're joking right now about the Xbox guys, we've talked here, you know this. PlayStation's doing the same thing. They're just on a they're just slower behind the curve, because their audience is, you know, they're a little behind on that technology curve, and they're a little ahead in the console space, right? So that evolution can take a little longer, but the end point is the same. So going back to PlayStation for a second,
go for it.
You know, you mentioned Death Stranding, which made me think, and Wolverine, which are both great points, because you're talking about Tokyo Game Show. Kojima will do his Kojima thing, right, and start teasing stuff with Death Stranding, and that would probably be the perfect opportunity to really highlight the PS5 Pro and show a new Death Stranding trailer saying going to be optimized for PS5 Pro, right, and then a Wolverine trailer, first party, or some type of tease, at least I would say, saying will be optimized for PS5 Pro. You know, those are the types of announcements that will get people excited for the platform.
Yeah, it's one thing that, like, again, this generation has been so weird, because we're seeing all these consoles deviate and do all sorts of, like, different things we never thought they would do, like put their games out on PC, right? Put their games out on their competitor consoles. I mean, both PlayStation and Xbox are doing it. You know, they both have games
that we suddenly had MLB Show just show up on Xbox one year. It just happened. Like, here's MLB Show. And it's
Lego Horizons on a Nintendo Direct.
On Nintendo Direct, yeah.
So, yeah, no, like people really have to get over it. And to me, it's like, guys, if you love Xbox, I think the reason why you love Xbox are the studios. It's why I love PlayStation. Right, I love my PlayStation because I love Santa Monica, because I love Bend, because I love Insomniac. You know, the list goes on. I love those developers, and I think they do some of the best work. That's why I'm a fan. It's not because I idolize the CFO, right? And it's not just because the CFO's name rhymes. Hiroki Totoki. Ooh, that's a good one. It's because of the creatives, and so if Xbox's problem is, hey, we need to get these games are also getting more expensive, and we have significantly less units than our competitor. Well, we want to keep making these games, so let's try to find a way to keep making them. And if that means, hey, listen, Xbox as a there was someone I think his name's Derek Strickland of Tweaktown. He's like he was making a title for the story he's writing where it's Xbox is no longer about the exclusives. Their exclusive is the value. And so to me, it's like, that's where Xbox lays its head on. It's the fact that you get to play all these games for $20 a month, right? It's the fact that you get to take these games from console to PC to cloud to mobile to wherever, and you just get to keep the progress. Like it should be seamless like that. And you're right. Xbox is way ahead in the tech curve that they're able to do that. PlayStation isn't. And right now their advantage is, you know, PlayStation's is they have more boxes out there. But there will come a time where PlayStation sees that they hit the same type of problem that Xbox hits, and they have to evaluate, where do we go from here? They already did it a little bit right now.
They already PC. Are.
Yeah.
They already are. Like, they have to be a little more careful, I think, of, you know, because they have a more dedicated, hardcore, higher selling community on the console side. So they have to be a little more methodical.
And GameFire in the chat writes something interesting. Both PlayStation and Xbox are about MAUs, monthly active users, and engagements. You've seen Xbox brag.
How many times have I been saying that for goddamn like 5 years? I'm glad they're finally commonplace now.
And now you finally see PlayStation also go, I think in the last year and a half, maybe, they're like, yeah, the monthly active users of both on the PlayStation platforms are over this number. And the metric has changed. So like, to all the people that are like arguing over the box, it's already beyond sad.
I remember when we were initially talking about Game Pass, and then when they announced that games would go day and date to Xbox and PC. Remember when Xbox first did that, and we started. That's when, like, especially on Bitcast, we started talking about, guys, it's about engagement and how many players are playing your games. Period. Like, it's not the same old metric. And at the time that that's going on 5 years ago now. At the time, it was like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Series X is going to come out and it's going to take the console lead back, and it's like, guys, you're missing for the forest through the trees, man. Like, you're not seeing it. And again, this is not a flex of any sort, because there's plenty of us in the community that do this. But we all talk, not all, that's stupid. A lot of us talk to some of the people in the industry, to developers, to Xbox, to people working on these platforms, right? We do have a little insight into what's coming to some degree. And this is where it's going. You just have to get used to it. So there's nothing wrong with still supporting Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo, whoever, as your primary brand. You just have to think about their games and stop worrying about where you're gonna play them. Just play them wherever you want to play them.
Exactly. And you know what, too, to that extent, and don't worry about what other people are playing. Start enjoying. Are
we talking about Concord already?
Yes, sir. Have you seen the smooth transitions? Everybody, have you just seen how we went from topic to topic? We went through 3 right now. And you couldn't even tell until
it's because Luke, the vampire's not here. He's resting.
Exactly. He's in his coffin. Yeah. He's playing with his little Godzilla and his fidget toys. He's petting a felt, thing just to get some type of, stimuli. Anyway, nonetheless, I found this year pretty annoying, man, because I've been enjoying some good solid 7s, and hell, even some 6s from time to time. I feel like every game that I've played this year and have enjoyed, everybody hates. Let me take you guys back. I platinumed Suicide Squad. That's right.
Suicide Squad's a good game. I don't care what anyone says. It's a good game.
It's a good game. It's not great. I get it. They should have done something better. They should have done another Batman. I get it. I'm not saying they shouldn't have. I've played Concord, and goddamn it, Ains.
Concord's a damn good game.
It's a damn good game.
Yeah, it's real good.
I'll fight people in the streets. And then I've been playing Star Wars Outlaws.
Okay.
And I've enjoyed it while also understanding its flaws. And also understanding my own bias and love for Star Wars, where it's like, yeah, I love this and I know it's a 7. I'm not kidding myself going, this is my game of the year. It's like, this is a very good game and I'm enjoying myself.
The funny thing, not to interrupt you, but Alex, who reviewed it for us, in our private chat, obviously, as he's going through the review period, he was actually lower than that early on. He's like, guys, he goes, this game's really letting me down right now. Apparently, now I've only played it in June. I haven't played it since it come out for home. But apparently there's some moments later in the game that are really, really high tier. So he said that brought it up for him. So
oh yeah. And so like and like Nissa in the chat, Flintlock, right? Like everybody, I want to know what games you've been playing that aren't the most critically beloved darlings, so that I can feel a little bit better, and we could all kind of just get some like, yeah, I played, I don't know, Suicide Squad. I really liked it.
I played Suicide Squad a lot.
It's fun.
Obviously, the running joke for like 4 years now is how much of a stan I was for Biomutant, which got shit on all over the place.
True.
Love that game. But the other thing about, you got to find that enjoyment. And to credit our vampire friend, he has been preaching this for a while. So I'll give him credit there. In the sense of like a game doesn't have to be an 8+ to enjoy it. There's plenty of enjoyable games that almost every game has flaws. It's whether or not you really like the content, the game style, the characters, whatever it may be, that you can live with those other flaws. And I think there's plenty of games like that. Simultaneously, when you play a lot of games like that and you're just having fun and enjoying yourself, when a true 9 or 10, when an Elden Ring comes around, right? It blows you away even more because you see and feel just how brilliant that game is and how many things it does right. So it's like a win-win. You're enjoying yourself. You're getting away from the stupid discourse of anything less than 8's unplayable, and you're appreciating all types of different games that you may not have otherwise. It's the way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, we got Game Positive in the chat going, I really loved Crab's Treasure.
Yeah.
Again, Nissa shouting out Flintlock. Like, these aren't the games that, like, you're right. It's no Shadow of the Erdtree. God bless. And neither is Stellar Blade. But I enjoyed the hell out of Stellar Blade.
Yeah.
I also platinumed that game. So it's like,
I've heard good things about Banishers. I haven't played it, but I've heard good things about that game as well.
So, like, to me, we have to get. I want to know what your thoughts are on this. We have to get past the not every game we play is game of the year. And we really got to try our best to be more mindful. This is something I've been trying to echo when we are being critical of a game, or when we're not into a game. Because, there was this one Nade Shot, I think his name is. God, I sound old as shit. One of these Gen Zers who are just like, we're coming to this boiling point as a community of gamers that it seems like we are just rooting for games to fail. We're focusing on the controversies more than the content of the game itself. We are focusing on these very niche groups that are, upset at change in this industry. And we're not talking about the substance of the games itself. We're dying on molehills and rooting when games don't hit a milestone because it feeds into the narrative.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. I can't even deal with it. It's what I've hated so much about the Concord discourse is because right away people are like, "Oh, it's dead game. Steam numbers are X," and I'm like, one, Steam numbers aren't everything. They're an indicator, sure. They're not everything. And two, we don't know what PlayStation's plan for this game long term. We know what FireWalk's roadmap is for Concord. And we know they already have a plan up through early next year that they've already shown. But what really drives me crazy about it is, as we see, and I'm not going to throw a random percentage out there, but it certainly seems like the vast, vast majority of all the discourse surrounding it online are from people that haven't played it. So they really have no idea. And I think it's even okay. Where I draw the line is like, it's okay to look at a game and just say, we've talked about this. I don't like the art style. That game's not for me. I probably won't enjoy it. Whatever it is, there's nothing wrong with that. Every game's not for every person. But to just pile on a game that you've never played for reasons that, other people are making up, it's just ridiculous. And I'm really sick of it. We do see it with a lot of releases nowadays. And I think, again, social media is only another indicator of a certain market presence. But there is a play there nowadays, I think, because even like talking to my son, he was watching me play Concord one night last week when I was doing the review. Actually, I was playing for the review, and he stood here for like an hour, and I was like, he's like, this looks really good. And I said, it is really good, even though, none of his friends are playing it. And I said, I think you and your friends would enjoy this. They play games every night. And I said, do you think anyone will get it? And he goes, first question was, how much does it cost? So, free to play is the market. So when I said $40, he said, probably not, because his friends won't buy a $40 game, regardless of what it is. But then the next day he brought up, which, he has no reason to, but it's how it permeates the social space. He's like, wow, it only has like 1,000 players on Steam or something, huh? Is it already dead? And I'm like, and he has no context as to what that means or how it affects him. It's what he sees. And I think it's just a shame, because whether it's Concord or another game, right, as we always try to remember and preach on our channels, the developers behind these games, whether you agree with them or not, there's just a lot of talent across this industry that are trying to make cool things for us to enjoy. That's the heart of it. And I think this ultra negativity, try to be edgy, whatever word you want to use, of just trying to crap on nearly everything that comes out and pile on and be in this group mentality is pretty gross. And I'm just tired of it.
Yeah. It's very tiring. Because I've enjoyed Concord quite a bit. And, I was talking to Kevin Ainsworth right before getting on. He's like, I'm even afraid to post a clip because someone's gonna be in my comments talking about how dead, like, they're just bots waiting to farm the engagement. They're like, they have they thems in the game, right? It's like, what?
Dude, I keep talking. I'll read you this comment that landed on my video review on YouTube that came out 8 minutes after my review went live.
God bless.
It was near immediately. Let me find it. Hold on. You'll get a laugh at this one. It's going to take me a second. So
Fair enough. Gaming Positive writes, Sony paid Joe to like Concord and saw the receipts. Yeah, I know, right? I know Game Positive kids. But like, there's a lot of people like, oh, you're shilling for PlayStation. They're paying you to say something nice about Concord. And let me tell you, I would pay them to just reply to an email. You kidding me? Like, the weird conspiracy theories that people just instantly buy in, like Ubisoft paid for a positive review for Outlaws from us and just calling us shills. It's like, no, a good channel, a good set of folks, take the opportunities given to them for sure, but it's all about honesty, and it's all about like if there's something where it's like a paid opportunity, we have to disclose it. So like legally, those rumors they are just that.
I don't know how many times we can say those rumors are nonsense.
Yeah, it's just dumb people choose to believe it. You got the thing up? I vamped.
Yeah. It's a long one. This came up 8 minutes after my review went live.
Yeah, let's read it.
This is quote 2,300 players in open beta and less than 700 players on launch does not bode well for this game's longevity or the future of Firewalk. A competently made game in terms of mechanics, but poor business model. It goes on and on and on. Not to mention one of the only games to miss out on Rule 34 due to lackluster and questionable character design philosophy. Compare these heroes with those of Overwatch or upcoming Deadlock. It launched. He goes on about the devs, wrong time, wrong environment, poor marketing. It's already dead. Rest in peace.
I love it.
And it's like
the Rule 34 crowd.
my review was 12 minutes long, so he couldn't even watch the review anyway. Like it's insane, man. And Travis reviewed it too. Remember?
Yeah.
And obviously IGN, they get all kinds of crazy comments, and he's like, He showed me some of the comments he's gotten and IGN's gotten. It's just like, good Lord, man, these people are out of control. Like someone like that who's talking about effing Rule 34 on a Concord review without even watching the review, by the way. What is your day-to-day life like? It can't be great. It can't be great. Like, if you're do something else with your time.
Rule 34, I think your life has gone in a direction that is not positive.
Do something else with your time, please. I'm begging you. Please. Like, you can live a happier life. I promise you.
Yeah, and it's sad that we have to give these weird clarifications even before we begin talking about the thing. It's like, no, they didn't pay us. No, the Earth isn't flat. No, it doesn't give you 5G. It's like, all right, now we're here to talk about Star Wars Outlaws. It's like the weird disclaimers. It feels like gives credence to the weird toxicity of like how many people I've muted or blocked or made invisible, whatever the term is, on YouTube, just because I talked about Star Wars Outlaws, and because similar comments of like, they made Kay less attractive. I can't find her on Rule 34. It's like, my brother in Christ, it's not. Why? What is what? Reddit exists anyway. It's just a bizarre time where we give credence to these people and we argue with them and we fight on these molehills with them, which to me, I was talking to someone behind the scenes that was one of the targets of one of these hate campaigns, and they're just like, you know what I did? Just muted them and ignored it, because all they want's attention. So that's what I did, and it worked. And I'm like, it's so part of it's just like ignoring that they're there, but when they're so loud, and for me, and this maybe is part of my autism, it's like when you say something so factually inaccurate and so dumb, it elicits a response from me. Like, I'm like, you're so dumb. I need to tell you you're an idiot. Like, it's one of those things that I can't help myself. And it just sucks that this is where the dialogue comes. It boils down to is like, I can't find them on Rule 34. There's pronouns in this game. I don't like change. I hate this. Gaming's ruined. And it's like, no, I think you're ruining your hobby. I think at the end of the day, you're more infatuated with the drama around games than actually playing the games and forming your own opinion. There's so many people like, oh, this game's broken, and because these 7 Paul Tassi articles show it, and it's just like, dude, did you play it yourself? No. Yeah. Okay, then you could take that information and you could call it gospel by any means, but you don't get to dictate the terms of how I've enjoyed it or dictate the terms of how I'm covering this game when you haven't even covered it yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I absolutely know.
It's like forming an opinion around something you never even played and you have no desire to play it. And that's the thing that really annoys me, because I want to get back to the days of like, I don't care. I truly don't care about, the dresses in Stellar Blade. I truly don't care about, the lack of diversity in Black Myth Wukong of all games. I don't care about whether I could find, Concord on chat roulette. I don't care. I just want to talk about the substance of the game. And if I feel like these conversations rob us of like, yeah, no, there is a reason why Concord is getting low numbers on Steam. Could we talk about it in a meaningful way of like, okay, how they're in this place now, how do they find themselves out of it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the conversation I would like to have for sure. I love that you brought up I think, what was it, like Screen Rant or something that gave Wukong like a 6 and talked about diversity. And I'm like, this is a
Chinese studio about
a 400-year novel that was published in China. What do you want them to do? Like, what are we even talking about anymore? How are like? I don't understand it. It's nuts. But as I've said, like there's legitimate criticisms with Concord. There's legitimate criticisms with almost any game, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. And I wish we could talk about those and how we move forward and just like have honest conversations about it. What's up, Avantis? But yeah, I will say, the nice thing, and we talk about this on our 3 channels, of course, and I've tried to do this with SG since the beginning, but we've also gotten some really nice comments on my Concord review. Like, got one today that said someone actually properly reviewing the game instead of focusing on Steam numbers for clicks, subscribed. So I've gained, like, just today, we've gotten like 20 subs.
Nice.
From, just people watching the Concord review and realizing it's an actual review of the game and not some nonsense hate video. Of course, I saw like some, literally the thumbnail was like woke garbage and it had like 400,000 views, I'm like, oh God. But yeah, I mean, we do what we can. We do what we can. Let me get a couple comments real quick.
Sure, go for it.
So we got a super chat from Mr. Game Positive, Eric himself, Canadian 279, saying, damn, Luke is gone. Xbox really is dead. Pour one out for Luke. Him and Xbox, they died together. They were linked at the hip. So, yeah.
Recipes.
Eric, thank you very much, my friend. And then I wanted to call up another comment that we got from Ade. Where is it? Guys, I think content creators like the chaos that come with the failure of video games. It's always on the news cycle. Yes. Apart from SG, not many creators can survive without jumping on the bandwagon. 100%. And, I appreciate that you say apart from SG can't survive. But, just the only reason we do survive is we're not monetized anyway, right? We're not jumping on that news cycle because we don't have to race for the clicks to make the money. But it is frustrating. What was it? Was it Concord or was it Outlaws that Paul Tassi, and I'm just calling him out, he's one of many, but like wrote like 2 articles in 2 days about like failures and issues and everything else. And it's just like, you know what you're doing, right? You're just making gaming discourse worse. That's all you're doing. Yep. You're not contributing to the gaming community in any meaningful way other than making it worse. And I really tire of that. I've always been tired of it. I get more tired by the year. You give me a few more years, I'm going to be Dan, where I just like grumble under my breath and, get angry all the time. So I'm working my way there.
Yeah. I mean, I saw, I mean, Paul Tassi is, I have thoughts, and I would actually love to talk to him about it, about his philosophy and in how he writes certain articles. Because the way I see it is, hey, this is going to, I'm in the games industry. This is great and all. I need to stay relevant, and B, most of all, increase my click-through rate so that I get more ads, so that I justify my position, and in turn it creates this, you know, this situation where I feel like he's kind of made popular the, Steam DB page, the 10 reasons why Concord is already a failure. And like, I feel like he made 3 or 4 Concord articles in the span of a day of like why this game's a failure and not really exploring why and how they can change course and what his thoughts are of like how they could, right? It's just like low hanging fruit of criticism, and it doesn't make this industry better when you make vague titles to things where people are going to click out of either rage or to confirmation bias and not really truly read the article and just to throw into the social media space. I think it harms the industry, and I think it harms the discourse. It only impacts for the negative, because it shows, oh, this is how I gain traction, is I just shit on something, and that is going to sustain my channel. And it's just not, for me, a healthy way of looking at games. Again, I would love to pick his brain. I would love for him to tell me why I'm wrong and and all that jazz. But like, I just don't truly see it. I take a lot of your philosophy of just like, I'm very grateful that we're in this position where we have a popular podcast, that I don't feel the need to go out there and go, this is why 10 reasons why Xbox sucks. It sucks to see that it's so much of this, and you're seeing these weird people, truly bizarre people, use these vague titles to mask their misogynistic, bigoted viewpoints on where games should be. And it really upsets me that you then see devs and people that actually create these games being harmed by people that have no idea how to develop a game, or have been developing a single game for 8 years and nothing to show for it, that are just making these rage bait tweets to pay for their alimony. Yeah. I'm really sick of that. I'm really sick of that. It's really destroying the actual conversations about games. So let's get right into it. You've played Concord. I played Concord.
Yeah. I played a lot of Concord. I've played a lot. I'm playing literally after we get off tonight. If you want to play, by the way, yes. I think we got a whole crew. We may actually have more than 5 people, so we'll figure that out. But okay. Yeah, it's really good, really good. I gave it an 8. Travis gave it a 7, which, funny enough, I suspected as we talked and played together on it. I'm a little higher on Travis excuse me, because I think primarily I appreciate the nuance in the mechanics a little more than he does. I think we both called out 2 things. One, it's a little content light right now. It needs more content. It needs more diverse modes. It needs kind of maybe a ranked playlist, or make a version of Rivalry that's ranked, right? We haven't gotten to season 1 yet, which is going to introduce the store, but also some additional things. I think the gap between launch and season 1 is too long. Should have been maybe like 2 weeks. Instead, it's like 6 weeks. Yeah. So I think there's that. I also think that it needs a little more variety. In the maps are good, the mechanics are good, the shooting's good, and I'll talk about that in a second. But it needs a little more variety. So other than that, though, what I really appreciate the game, and why I hope that it does gain some sort of audience, at least enough to stick with it from a development side, is the mechanics. The shooting feels top tier. I said on Big Cast, or I said somewhere, because the game gets compared to Overwatch a lot. We see that all the time. They're actually quite different games. I realize it's a character shooter. I don't care what characters you like better, what have you. This is more of an arena shooter. This is a 5v5 arena shooter with characters. And in that space, you have to have really good shooting mechanics and abilities. And I would say the shooting mechanics in this game are better than Overwatch, bar none. I'll take that battle with anyone. I think they're up there with some of the best in the industry. And I think that because of that, that's what really draws me to it. Because we got someone challenged me, I should say, on Big Cast the other day of like, you're saying you don't care about the characters. Well, that can't be true. Some kind of weird comment. And I'm like, I don't care about the characters. I care about their abilities and how their abilities function in the flow of the game and work with your teammates. I don't care what they look like. It doesn't matter to me at all.
Some people care what's on the top right corner of the screen. You just want to play how they. You just want to play the game and feel how
it's all mechanics. Yeah, and the fact that I've played all the characters now. I've played with. There's 16, by the way. I've played probably with 8 to 10 to 12 of them quite a lot, at least hours each. And then obviously a few characters. Lennox is my man. Haymar is my girl. I've played with them a ton. But like the more you play with the characters, the more you realize how versatile they really are. Like Mushroom Person, I don't even remember the name. Lark, I think.
Lark,
Lark, like surprisingly effective. Like crazy effective. And I found that with kind of each of the characters. And what I really like about it is it's very team focused. If you have as we've seen playing together, if you have a competent 5-person team, you will dominate the other team. It's a very team shooting, team mechanic game. And I think to pull that off in design is not easy. I've played a lot of shooters, for a lot of hours. And this one is really competently done in that regard. So anyway, I've talked enough, but it's in my review. I gave it an 8. Like I said, I think that the 8 is weighted because of the mechanics and the gameplay primarily. But I do call out that, the conversation around the characters and the audience is a concern. Doesn't detract from the game review for me. Right. But it's a concern, and it needs more content, which should be coming, hopefully.
Here's the thing. I think characters are important, and the design is important. And for example, I couldn't find Roka on Rule 34 anywhere. No matter how many pages I went through, and I went through hundreds. Listen. I think some of the characters' designs are good. Like Haymar, it looks pretty rad. Starchild looks dope.
Itzy's cool.
Valley. Yep. Yeah, but then there's some other characters like Lurk. I'm like,
yeah, like there's some weirdos.
Some of the designs do feel just all right, like forgettable.
Yeah,
they lack the character that Blizzard has, and that's because they're goddamn Blizzard. you know, that's kind of like their speciality, and when it comes to the gameplay, you're right, it's king. And when people are like, "Oh, it's just an Overwatch clone. It's just whatever." It's like,
I'm so tired of hearing that. Like,
it's very much not. And when I hear people go, "Oh, these are just recycled characters from Overwatch," I'm like, I can see that in like a Bari, sort of. I could see that in Lennox, maybe, if you squint hard enough. Like, there are characters that have like blink abilities, but they don't act like Tracer in the slightest. Like, as someone who has played hundreds of hours of Overwatch on PC, on Xbox, and on PlayStation, and playing Concord, I can tell you they're both very different games. You're right. It's more of a marriage of a hero shooter with an arena shooter, of that variety, more than Overwatch, where you're pushing the payload primarily. I'll admit, though, you're right. Content offerings is scarce at this point in time, especially the variety of how you trick out your character and how you make them, look. Yeah. Is lacking. I do want my Haymar to look, other than having a red poncho, I want her to have something else that looks interesting and unique and makes me look apart from the other Haymars out there, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's like emotes, like the cool little cosmetic stuff that I feel like we're missing in this game that others have. And then like the mode offerings. The domination mode.
Yep.
I feel like there should be three rounds instead of just one single round, because that domination mode can end very fast.
Yeah, we've shut people out and it's like a 5-minute match. Yeah,
tops.
Yep.
And so like where like I really enjoy Brawl and I really enjoy domination, there does need to be some tweaks to make them last a little longer or to make them a little bit more competitive. I have not tried Rivalry yet. Or actually, no, I think I played that in the beta with you, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
I don't remember if we played the other night, but yeah. No. Rivalry is round based, no respawns. The modes are either basically it's elimination. If you kill all 5 of the other team, you win a round. Or it's a payload, so you pick something up and deliver it to 1 or 2 spots, or it's a King of the Hill. But you can kind of do either, so you can win a round either way. But it's best of 7, so you have to win 4 rounds. I really like the rivalry mode, and
play that in the beta.
Yeah, and for anyone else that's playing, be aware you get much more XP in the rivalry mode too.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you sacrifice maybe the leveling of the character for leveling of your personal level.
No, right? I think I'm pretty sure the XP applies because you get the job board stuff too, of course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you get it all. So it's just the matches can last longer because they can go up to 7 rounds, but the rounds are short. The rounds are like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes each.
Okay. So. Okay. Yeah. I remember playing that. That's the one where we fought Parallax Stella and we got her butt absolutely whooped.
The only loss we had that night was against Parallax and her team. Yeah, exactly.
Hot damn, y'all. They really kicked our ass. So
we're good.
I remember that.
I can't even front. Really but I'm happy to announce from Joe and I and the rest of the people at SG who have been playing Concord, we whipped Dreamcast guy's ass. We whipped him so bad. The entire team of 5 people on his team didn't get a single kill in a shooter. Not one. I don't think I've ever even seen that. I can't think of the last time I played a shooter ever where you play a team shooting mode and not one player get 1 kill. They all had 0. So I got the screenshots to prove it. It's in history now. We saved them.
It's posted there on the web. Yeah. That was. Listen, I need sometimes with some reviews from some folks, I need to see some gameplay. Is all I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah, and supposedly says that the game's terrible, and yet we had people in our Discord showing today that he was in matchmaking again, and he's he's nearly a level 30, which means he has to have easily 30 plus hours since launch.
It's almost like they're bullshitting for attention.
It's almost like they make shit up. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And maybe if you're going to criticize a game, learn how to play Star Child. Jesus.
Learn how to even turn and shoot.
That was it was very sick.
Oh, anyway. you could have handed the controller to a 5-year-old and they would have done better.
Yeah, man, it was bad.
It was bad. Yeah,
it was bad.
Anyway,
so yes, we enjoyed Concord, and I have enjoyed being the corporate shill. I got my suit hanged up. I got my tie hung up. I'm ready to shill for Star Wars Outlaws, man.
Star Wars Outlaws. So I have not played it because Alex reviewed it for us. Because I did Concord, and I'm playing Black Myth Wukong, and I'm on vacation next week. So, and then Astrobot comes out while I'm away, and Astrobot's my focus. So I'm like, you know what? Now's a good time to wait a couple weeks to get in Outlaws, let it get a couple updates, and then I'll be good to go. But there's definitely mixed opinions on this one. Like I said, Alex was a little more down on it early. He said has some really good moments late. He landed on an 8 eventually, but I think he's about right where the meta is. I think it's like high 7s, right? So
yeah, and coming from someone who is a huge Star Wars fan, I love it more than pretty much anything. I land on the similar route of it's definitely a high 7 game for me. I am on the last mission, admittedly, because I'm the type of player where it's all right, they said there's no turning back, so I got to go collect all the things. I got to go do all the stuff just in case I miss out. I've been told that's not the case, but I'm I just want to make sure. That being said, though, from what I've played in the 35 plus hours playing it, there's obviously problems with this game. Though I'm going to be a broken record when I say that, when it comes to the moment to moment gameplay, it kind of goes from either mediocre to very good. Never is in the gameplay department it's ever great. Oh my god, this is amazing. I'm having fun. And I'm getting lost in the Star Wars, but mechanically speaking, it feels like, a mix of several Ubisoft games that we've played before. You got the Watchdog mechanics because you have Nyx that gets to mess around with gadgets and gizmos and set grenades off, right? You have the Splinter Cell-esque stealth in there as well, where it's all about noise and proximity to your targets. You have the Assassin's Creed element as well when it comes to somewhat straightforward melee combat to like the stealth mechanics of an AC game and the traversal of an AC game. It's the jack of all trades or the master of none, right? And that's kind of what I feel like Outlaws is in the gameplay department. It's a really good foundation, a solid foundation to, if they get a sequel to this game, I think that game has the opportunity to be something really great. So when I'm playing this game, I'm like, this is a really good start. I want to see how they flex the muscles of each one of these, systems at play. It feels like they've been a little bit more than they can chew in some of these aspects.
Sure.
Scope was a little bit too wide. The reputation system, I agree 100% with Alex.
Okay.
In the previews, I was really excited of what...
Me too. Yeah.
Of what, my choices actually matter. They do sort of, until you get to have these brokers that get to fix your reputation with either of these clans. So I messed up and I have a bad relationship with Jabba, but I could always, with just a few missions, get it back to good. And with a few more, I could get it back to excellent. So it feels like the choices matter. The impact of those choices are greatly lessened because of those, the lack of true consequence. In the speeder combat, man, they shouldn't have even put it in the game. That's how.
Oh, it's that bad. Oh,
dude,
they wouldn't let us use the speeder in the preview at Summer Game Fest.
There's a reason. The speeder controls like shit.
Okay.
Aaron on Twitter, Agent Doom, he said it perfectly. The one thing that sucks about the speeder is when you're turning the camera to look all around you. If you take your hand off or you take the thumb off the stick, it recenters it, and so you
can't turn that off.
Can't turn that off,
dude. I turn that off in every game. I hate the auto recentering. Let me control it.
Exactly. And again, I could maybe be missing something, but I'm like, this is really annoying. It's also very stiff. So it is a speeder. I get what they were going for. It feels like a speeder, but one subtle jostle of the thumbstick and you're making a complete, right hand turn. The combat is literally just all right, here's your Red Dead Redemption aim at these two guys chasing you. Kablam. That's really it. I will say though, the space combat is what I wanted Starfields to be. In fact, the space combat and the space exploration, you'd be surprised about of the types of biomes you can get out of space. I really liked what they did there. And when it comes to, I think, the strongest aspect, I think maybe the only aspect that this game gets truly great, because it's not in the story. The story is by the numbers. It is, it's okay. It's not the best story ever told. But I think where it truly becomes great is in its world design.
Okay.
The open worlds are, dude, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
There's one biome in particular that's a jungle setting.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the weather effects go off, and I'm like, all right, now we talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro again, because this is beautiful.
Nice.
And at the same time, listen, there's some characters that have, I like what Jam Pack Sam said. They have yogurt face when it comes to textures, but when you talk about the environments themselves, Tatooine, as a huge Star Wars fan, dude, they understood. These are the folks that could recreate all these ancient cities and just nail them to a T, right? Here they do the same exact thing with Tatooine. It feels like I'm watching the 70s, movie for the first time.
Nice.
Or there's some aspects where I'm like, oh my God, this is from the special edition. And then I'm like, that is from episode 1. I'm like, and then some obscure shit, that's from Battlefield 2. That alleyway. Okay. So the cities feel lived in. They feel incredibly accurate to what they're aiming for. It's drop dead gorgeous. And then you realize, oh, that's why Ubisoft handled the open world Star Wars game. Because, man,
yeah, well, and Snowdrop
yeah,
as an engine has proven that with like Division 2 and stuff. I mean, they're very, very pretty games. And I think for me, I was going to say, hearing you talk about it is, this is another case. It feels like expectations can get the better of people.
sure.
And I think, like, again, for me, and I'm just obviously speaking for me, but when I look at this game, and I'm not nearly as big of a Star Wars fan as like you and Luke or Travis and Hogue. Like, I'm a Star Wars fan, but I'm just a casual fan. But to your point, like, what I want out of this game is just feeling like I can go around the Star Wars universe and have fun. That's it. I don't need super finely tuned mechanics. I don't need a story that changes my life. I don't need any of that. Just give me the sandbox of a chunk of the Star Wars universe, and I'm going to be happy. So
they did it.
Yeah, and that's all I'm looking for. So I think that's where the expectations, like, I think that's where some people say this is my game of the year, or this is really high up for me, and then other people who had obviously vastly different expectations to come in and get 4s and 5s. And, what was it that was it Eurogamer gave it a 4? And I know, like, even like Greg, what's his name? That kind of funny was railing on it.
Yeah,
and it's just yeah, and it's just like, what did you think it was going to be? Because everything Alex has said to me, obviously we've talked a lot about it. I narrated his review. You've talked about it. I've talked to Hogue and Travis. Right. It's just like, it seems to be pretty much what we expected. I don't know what the expectations were for this game.
So I would like to be critical of those reviews. It's, it's their opinion, their thoughts, but I also I also think about how drastically different this game could be for folks that I like. For example, in terms of an Ubisoft game,
yep,
this has been the smoothest for me. I have not gotten the corrupted saves that has, like, okay. I think Abontis, if you're still in chat, he had it where, like, the first world you couldn't leave, and you had to start. Like, theoretically, you could be on that planet for like 20 hours and you lose all that progress. I would want to quit the game too. Right. Some people are going to have worse bugs than others. So, like, I could understand if Greg Miller's like, I'm going to give it a 4 because there's some weird graphical stuff and it just doesn't live up to that polish we thought Ubisoft learned. But at the same exact time, yeah, the open world's great. Like, to me, it's one of the stronger aspects where Ubisoft, it seemed like massive listen to fans of like, hey, people just call us the checklist map. What if we see what other, devs have done with like Red Dead Redemption or Ghost of Tsushima and build off that and do our own thing? And that's exactly what they did. It's a lot of wandering into pirate camps. It's a lot of wandering into, Imperials fighting like random rebels in like some point where you're like kind of trying to sneak through and gather materials. Like, there's a lot of things that happen around you and quests that happen around you that you get to accept. And it feels like the world is a lived place. Like, there are parts where the Ghost of Tsushima aspect is like Nyx will stop and do a little chirp, and Kay will go, "What's up, buddy?" And he's gonna lead you to like a beautiful vista or like some buried treasure. Like, it's those moments where I feel like the open world is pretty darn good. Now, it doesn't do it as well as Red Dead. Red Dead's immaculate in terms of its open world. Same with Ghost of Tsushima to me, but it's still a really valiant effort and one that they nail a good foundation on. The only true problem I have is the combat. Again, could be very mediocre. The story, where I'm at, again, I'm right about the climax, but like, I agree with Alex's review where it's like they're solid characters, but none of them pop off the page, including Kay. The only one that does is Nyx. And Nyx, the little companion space dog tentacle monster, Nyx fucking rocks. Like, I love Nyx. He stands next to BD from the Jedi series. Like,
okay,
and even when I say like the story is not the best, it understands the scoundrel element. of like you're constantly getting betrayed. And the one thing that I constantly think about is like, first off, I'm constantly betraying and I'm constantly being betrayed. It reminds me of the Arrested Development of like every time Gene Parmesan enters the frame, the mom just goes, Gene!
Yeah.
Every time I get betrayed, I'm like, oh no! Like there was this one character where I'm like, really, this is gonna be one of our main characters that's gonna be on this journey, and then it's like, oh no, thank God. It's like, okay, good.
Gotcha.
So yeah, no, again, it's Ubisoft writing, it's Ubisoft, voice direction. That it's like this is an Ubisoft game. It doesn't hit the highs of like other games, like a Jedi Survivor, which I think is, in terms of narrative for Star Wars, incredible. But it's also like I think of all the Star Wars games that I've gotten, and I'm like, guys, I think you guys forget how good we're eating when it comes to Star Wars. Like we got Battle Castle Arena and what is it, Battle Pods or whatever. Like we got the Star Wars Hunter game for no reason other than Zango wanted it. Like it's and the one thing too, Outlaws I'm sorry, Alejandro in the chat yet again. Outlaws and Avatar showed Ubisoft has answered the feedback to the bloated UI. Yeah, the UI is rather minimal here. It's really like, no, just taking the vistas, taking the view, taking the scenery. I love the game, and I at the end of the day know where it stands, and I can also understand where people feel burned on it.
Yeah.
And go, yeah, I agree. I can't deny, like, I've had 3 crashes in this game. None of them halted my progress, but it did you? That sucks. So I can understand being burned in that element. I can.
Yep, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it when I have time. Obviously, for me, Astrobot is huge release. So when I get back from vacation, Astrobot's going to be the first thing I jump into, and I have quite a, outside of some late night multiplayer, which I'm usually on, I don't have a lot of time to game right now. So Astrobot could take me a little while, depending how big it is. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into Star Wars when later this year, and by then it'll be a little more optimized anyway. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And when people are like, "Oh, I'm just this is why you never buy an Ubisoft game first, day one," it's like, sure, if that's the lesson you get. Like we all know what like to me it's like we all know what we get out of these games. Like there's certain times where I'm playing this game, I'm like, yes, there's jank, but it doesn't deter from my overall experience, just like how we talk about Bethesda jank. Again, it's a fun game. And I know where it is. At the end of the day, I would put it in where the Open Critic says. 77 is probably where it lands, and that's not bad. Play more.
No, that's guys. The other thing. It goes back to like, someone was saying, Alex got some comments on our YouTube review, like, it's the same nonsense. Like, this is a 4 at best or whatever, and it's like, or someone saying it's been rated terrible because they saw some 4s, and I'm like, dude, it's nearly an 80 on Open Critic. Like, it's a very, very good game, with flaws. A very, very good game with flaws. That's fine. Yeah. That's probably, to even achieve that, especially with the scope and license that you're talking about with Star Wars, that's an achievement. So, and, one thing I do like about Ubisoft, we talk about this on Bitcast a lot. Say whatever you want about Ubisoft. I know some people hate them, some people love them, what have you. They have their quirks, like a lot of developers and publishers, but they have an audience that truly enjoys their game. Same with Bethesda. You mentioned Bethesda. Bethesda, we joke about jank and bugs and everything else. When Bethesda games release, typically anyway, they have their own audience. Like, I didn't realize, maybe naively, how big the Fallout audience was truly until I went to E3 in 2018. And they had literally an entire wall of just Fallout. Like, they had a whole fake vault and everything, and people is packed the entire time. People go nuts for it. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, that's cool. Great. Yeah. And Ubisoft is kind of similar. And the one thing I really like about them is they support their games. We talk about this a lot. Like, they have a few releases. Sure, they'll kill off, here and there, and they experiment with a few things. But if you look at their games, the For Honors, the Riders Republic is not a 20 million copy selling, 50 million people playing it a month game. And yet they're still adding content to it for free for like 3 years now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For Honor's going on 8 years. Division 2 still has updates. They're not super meaningful updates, but it got all kinds of updates. You know what I mean? Like these games, Skull and Bones was kind of laughed out of the room for the most part. What we saw in the social space, they're still launching new contents, new seasons. You know, it just the crew Motorfest, it's getting really expansive updates too. I think they're really good at that. And so as an IP, especially with the Star Wars license, I think Star Wars Outlaws is only going to get better. They'll do the expansion for it. It'll get tuned up. It'll be a great game. Rainbow Six, another gun. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when we talk about these and we have these conversations, we often get lost in like, the numbers game of it all, where we don't realize, there's a lot of Star Wars fans who don't give a shit. Like my brother, he's just like, so when can I download the game? Because we have the share thing on PlayStation.
Yeah.
I'm like, whenever you want to. He's like, cool, I'm really excited. I'm like, all right. Yeah. And I asked him, like, have you heard anything about it? He's like, no, I don't give a shit. It's Star Wars. I'm gonna play it. I'm like, okay, cool. Like,
we especially with the big licenses, we sometimes forget that. We talk about this too, right? We get wrapped up in the gaming community. And you don't think about the fact globally, not just here, obviously in the US, globally, it's like a big new adventure in the Star Wars universe. There's going to be millions of people that buy that game that have no idea about any of the technical issues, what it's been reviewed, none of this nonsense that people are posting articles about. They just want to play a Star Wars game.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. I had a blast. So to wrap everything up, I enjoyed Outlaws. We enjoyed Concord. We understand where they land at the end of the day.
Yes, sir.
It's been a good solid year for games.
Wukong's really good. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Yeah.
I got to mid chapter 2. I still need to, of course, play more of it, but I've enjoyed a lot.
Chapter 2 has a crazy amount of secrets. There's I think half the bosses in the chapter are hidden.
That's dope.
Yeah, it's cool. I've spent a lot of time in chapter 2. I haven't even advanced yet. I'm at the final boss of chapter 2, but before beating him, I've gone through all these other stuff, and I fought several more bosses. I've gotten several more items, key items. There's all kinds of stuff, dude. It's a crazy game, but it's really fun.
Where they bring you in the beginning of that level, it's very, to me, it's like that's very daunting. It's like I'm like, where's the gold path? And it's like
yeah,
there's 4 different ways of going about this level,
and it just gets bigger. Yeah. See, I like that because the first level, I keep telling people, I was actually disappointed at first. That was one of my most anticipated games, and I played the first level, and I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, it's pretty linear. You know what I mean? The enemy variety is lacking, and which is kind of concerned me. And then I got to level 2, and I'm like, okay, now we're talking. Let me explore. Let me fight some new enemies. Enemy variety could still be better. They're still plebs. But I think they do a really good job with the boss combat and just setting things up. And it's got a personality to it, too. It plays into that, the Journey to the West kind of story and theme and everything. I'm playing it in Chinese with subtitles. It's awesome,
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like it. So that's a really fun one.
Yeah.
And
when people go, oh, it's more like a boss rush, I'm like, did you only play level 1?
I've had people literally tell me who haven't played it, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm playing it. Yeah. They tell me, oh, it's a boss rush game. I'm like, not really. No. You know what I mean? It's heavy on the bosses, which is great, but it's not Cuphead is mainly a boss rush game. That's where you go boss to boss to boss, right? Yeah. That's a boss rush game. There's only there's 6 in Cuphead normal levels. But other than that, you're just fighting bosses. No, this especially once you get to level 2, and I've heard level 3 is the same way, chapter 3. It's huge, expansive place to explore with all kinds of secrets and NPCs and narrative and stuff. It's not a boss rush game.
Yeah, no, not in this. Again, for what I've played, very little, but I don't see where you guys saw that. But I've been having a blast, and I haven't found the difficulty yet for me, right? But I bet it's there as I
it's not super hard. No. Especially if you get the secrets where you can get better armor and upgrade your staff and stuff. I think the most I've replayed any boss so far, and I've done all of them through the end of chapter 2 now, is maybe beating them on my 3rd try.
Same.
I beat almost all of them on the 1st or 2nd try. I think 1 or 2 took me 3.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no. The big giant baby in the first level.
The blue one. Yeah.
The blue one. Yeah, that killed me several times.
So there's a secret second one on the first level as well. So yeah, okay.
I kicked his ace. I'm like, I fought you before, bud. Yeah. Yeah, I'm enjoying the game. And you know what? The only thing there's only two big issues that I'm having with it. Wukong isn't wearing a bra. Can't find him on Rule 34. And there's no Polish, monkeys with giant sticks. And I find the lack of diversity in...
The fact they didn't include the Dutch is almost unforgivable. Really.
Yeah. We didn't have one Spanish talking squirrel. Like, come on. What are they doing over there in mainland China?
It's funny because, I've been talking about for a little while now about part of my excitement when we saw Wukong for the first time 2 years ago. Not that Journey to the West has been done in mediums for a very long time, right? It's very popular. But just seeing the influence of Chinese game development coming to light, right, in the AAA space is really cool. And I've said for a long time now, South Korea and China and India and many other countries, getting in on game development is awesome to me because we get to see more cultural variance. Whereas us growing up, especially me, if you go way back, it was either Japanese or Western. That was it. You know what I mean? And that's still the bulk of what we see in games, and I love it to death. But it's going to be very cool to see all these different cultures kind of show some of their history and nuances and everything else to go along with that in these games. And I think that's really cool. So then, I'm excited that we get a Chinese action game based on a obviously incredibly notable Chinese novel. I'm excited about that. And then what do we get? Reviewers saying it needs more diversity. It's like, guys, it's just like, yeah, there's a place for the diversity conversation. A 400-year-old Chinese novel is not that place. There's 500 other places where we should be talking about diversity in the gaming industry. And this isn't the spot.
It's not even even more than that. It's like, this is a Chinese studio talking about and handling their own culture. And they're making a game for them to celebrate themselves.
Yeah.
And then to promote in other places. I get it. God of War Ragnarok came out and we had a Scottish, North, beheaded guy who talks to us. I get that Atreus talks in an American accent. I understand, there's a little squirrel that talks British to you, but that's hard to pull off, right? Angrboda is black, right? It's really hard to pull off something that is about Norse mythology while also bringing other people in. It's really difficult to pull that off. And for many folks, God of War Ragnarok in 2018 pulled it off really well. But you can do both. If there is a Celtic game dev that wants to celebrate its culture, celebrate its mythology, go ahead, do it. It doesn't.
Well, let's look at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 for that matter, right? 16th century Bohemia, and they're very meticulous about the environments, the culture, the time period, etc. I'm not going into that game saying, hey, you better have some serious Australian and South Korean representation in this game. Like, no, that's not what we're doing in that game. It's okay.
Exactly. Not everything has to be Bridgerton. But it's good that Bridgerton exists. My mom loves it. I mean, loves it.
It's crazy how popular that show is.
Dude, the shit my mother tells me is in that show. I'm like, Mom, you're a church-going woman. What the hell? And they're doing it on the balcony and with no protection, and they're not married. But it's like, you can have these things. You gotta, you gotta balance them accordingly. Like, if this was like, I think a really great example too is like Ghost of Tsushima. A Western developer made something that was so authentic, the Japanese literally gave them a key to the city. They're like, here, you did. Like, it's about paying respect to the source material, right?
Which, by the way, we heard typical, we've been joking about some of the misdirected, misled outrage. And like, you had people trying to make an argument when Ghost of Tsushima came out that they had appropriated the culture and were insulting it and everything. And then literally, as you just said, like the Japanese development teams were like praising it. It's like, just stopped. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, to me, it's like as long as the effort's there to pay that respect, as long as the characters are fitting, not just, again, they don't have to necessarily fit the setting. You got the Scottish, North guy there talking to you. As long as they understand that balancing act of like making these characters relatable to the audience and to a certain extent faithful to what those characters are in the lore, it's a really hard balance to pull off. But if you can, you have something special like God of War. And it's even more so difficult when you're a Western dev, again, akin to like a Sucker Punch, which is like, we are outsiders to this culture. We need to embrace ourselves into their culture, understand it on a meticulous level to pay that respect to it.
Yep.
Like you both can exist and both should exist. I really hate when people dictate strictly of what a game or anything really should be, Yep.
100%. Yeah.
All right, let's go play Concord. I got to get to level 100 before it's too late, Ains. I'm at level 26, I think.
Level 100? Like character level? That's going to take a long time.
No, not character, just overall level.
Profile level. That's what I meant. Yeah. Sorry. That's a lot, dude. I think I'm at 34 right now, and I've played a lot.
Yeah, I gotta do it.
You and these trophies, attainable. I don't understand the trophy thing.
The platinum is just in our reach. If we just
grab it,
I
don't get it. The one thing I do think is cool, that Xbox obviously does as well, that PlayStation did do, is one of the nice things about having PSN integration, or excuse me, PSN required even when you play the game on Steam, which I understand causes issues in certain countries. They need to figure and fix all that. I get that. But one of the nice things is that you get trophy integration for people who care, but you also get things like it pulls your full PSN friends list. Everything's kind of integrated as it should be, like on Xbox. So I think PlayStation's behind that curve by quite a bit yet, but they're at least moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
So, because I'm only playing on Steam.
Yeah.
But, it's good.
I like it. So, this conversation made me feel nice. It was a nice little therapy session.
Yeah, we ranted a little bit tonight, the two of us, but that's fine. It happens.
As long as your name's not Paul or Dreamcast guy. I think we didn't offend much. Or many.
The most annoying thing, I think, is we all say take the air out of them. Like, don't share it, don't spread it, don't talk about it. And no one follows the own advice. Yeah. You know what I mean? It just gets spread, and then we're dealing with it nonstop.
Because it's just so because it's so nonstop. It's like these people annoy me, dude. Like, Mark, talk to your kids. Don't rant on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, it's just those things. It's just, it's because we care so much, I think, about games and about the people that make them, that when we see so many disingenuous arguments and articles and people out there, it's annoying, it truly is.
Yes. Sorry, I was just typing in the chat. Yeah, it is. It is. I blame Eric personally.
I blame Luke Lore because he was telling me he's planning the next January 6th just in case things don't go. He said according to plan. He said. So.
According to plan. That's where he is tonight. We didn't want to say it earlier, but we need to expose it so it doesn't endanger all of us. Pomp's coming in with a late super chat here. Mr. Mariano Pompa. I can't say it like you can, my friend. $2 super chat. Concord. More like con board. Am I right, guys?
Oh, he got us. He got us. Oh my goodness gracious.
Pomp, I wish you were playing this with us, man. You'd like it. You'd like it. But I know where Pomps is at. He only plays a certain amount of shooters because he has to keep the Halo skill level up, which I can appreciate probably as much as anyone. So, but Halo's in a very sad state right now. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
Very sad. I say ranked Halo's in a bad state. I I think Halo Infinite, the overall package is really strong right now. But yeah, man, if you're a ranked Halo player, it's frustrating as hell.
Do you think that's coming over?
I don't think so yet.
I heard some people go. I think Jez made the argument of like, you gotta keep something sacred.
Yeah, I don't think so yet. Nothing I've seen would indicate that. I haven't been as closely tied to kind of the people, the group behind the scenes that talk about this stuff with some people, you know, like we were several months ago. So I can't say for sure. I don't know if anyone can say for sure, but I don't think so. I think this evolution of Xbox will occur for the next few years. Will Halo be on more platforms way down the line? Probably, like everything else. But yeah, I don't think Infinite will make a move anytime soon. But I don't know. If it does, I don't care.
Yeah,
it doesn't. I don't care. Yeah, I really don't.
I'll have fun wherever.
You know? I'll still be playing it
Thieves
as I do today.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves doing well. That's all that really should matter.
Yeah, which I still don't understand, but here we are.
Well, listen, we had a very productive show. Way better than Luke would ever do hosting. I think he's
he'd be distracting us, you know.
How good was I tonight, guys? You saw like half that show was just like moving, you know. I was very proud.
But anyway, man, yeah, so Concord review up, Star Wars Outlaws review up, both on the channel and on the site, so you can check those out. We had a really good conversation on Bitcast last week about Wukong, Concord, and Gamescom. We actually went through a ton of the announcements from Gamescom, including release dates, information, updates, etc. So if you're looking for like a discussion on the breakdown of Gamescoms, that's there. And then obviously we'll you can find us every Sunday on Bitcast on the channel that you're on right now. So other than that, we will try to be back. We say this every time we do a cast now. We'll try to be back more consistently. It's just honestly, the three of us have a lot going on outside of in our real lives, outside of the gaming community. And then obviously this is a secondary show for all three of us as well. So it's just been a challenge trying to keep it consistent, but we do try, believe us.
Yeah, and it's just always fun, you know, just to get to hang out and chat and shoot the breeze, as they say.
Yeah, I like having this kind of casual show, you know.
Yeah, it's nice. So. And honestly, the Bitcast last week was phenomenal. By the way, I really enjoyed.
Oh, thank you. We actually got a lot of feedback. Like it was a fantastic show, and wasn't wholly different from what we do. I think maybe it was just our pace of going through different games and topics. So yeah. Try and keep that cadence going forward.
It was very nice. You can find me, of course, at Mr. Badbit on the Bad Place. You can find me at Mr. _Badbit on Threads. You can follow the show, The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where each and every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/PS Trophy Room, we talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. And you can find the Trophy Room on podcast services the very next day after, which I'm going to throw a link in the chat. We're doing an Astrobot giveaway. Link to that post and the directions on how to win a copy of the deluxe version of Astrobot.
Don't put it in the chat. Don't put it in the chat. Just I'll take the tweet and put it in the description. That way, it's permanent.
Oh, you know that's a good. Here, I'll put that right in our secret chat. There you go. You know, all the directions, link in the description, all that good stuff. This week, Colin and I had a really good conversation about a lot of the stuff we did here, but not actually retreading a whole lot. And again, we've also been getting a lot of good feedback on that episode as well. It seems like the good folks are coming back. You know what I mean? Like, you know, maybe it's gonna like an ocean. It's gonna drown those negative voices. That said, all that out of the way, everybody. Luke wasn't here to mess up the show, but you can find XVP. You can find XVP wherever you get your podcast service of choice. That's the Xbox Expansion Pass with Luke Lore and Captain Low Gun. And they're very nice, and they're going to have me on this week because Luke's out because, I don't know, he's stupid and maybe he's sick, I don't know. And Luke's gone, but Captain's going to have me on the show. We're going to do that live. Okay. All right, I'm going really long in the tooth. He wants me to end. I got really bad indigestion. I had sushi earlier, and it's really starting to really fight back. You could have noticed it in the last 20 minutes, but I kept on going. All right, everybody, keep casting that go up. I love you guys.